In this training, we'll be discussing the following topics: the introduction to scaffold safety, types of scaffolding, fall protection, hazards and precautions, and training. Scaffold incidents that injure or kill workers often happen when the planking or supports give way, a worker slips, fall protection is missing, or someone is struck by a falling object. Following OSHA standards can help prevent these accidents. Scaffolding is described by OSHA as a temporary work platform that is elevated and used to support employees and materials. Workers on scaffolding must understand key safety aspects, including inspecting the scaffold before use, wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, adhering to weight limits, and using proper access points, such as ladders or stairs. Common hazards associated with all scaffolds include falls from elevation due to lack of fall protection, collapse of the scaffold caused by instability or overloading, being struck by falling tools, work materials, or debris, and electrocution due to the proximity of the scaffold to overhead power lines. There are two basic types of scaffolds: supported scaffolds, which consist of one or more platforms supported by rigid load-bearing members such as poles, legs, frames, and outriggers. And then there's suspended scaffolds, which are one or more platforms suspended by ropes or other non-rigid overhead support. We can note here that other types of equipment, such as scissor lifts and aerial lifts, can be regarded as other types of supported scaffolds as well. OSHA recognizes two main types of scaffolding: supported and suspended. Supported scaffolds are platforms resting on rigid supports like poles, frames, or legs. They are built from the ground up and are the most common because it is easier to work from the lower level to the highest. Suspended scaffolds, on the other hand, utilize ropes or other non-rigid supports to suspend the platform from above. They hang from a building and typically are used for skyscrapers or when only working on upper levels. Supported scaffolds are the most common type of scaffold because they are versatile, economical, and easy to use. They are frequently used in one or two tiers by residential contractors and painters. But their modular frames can also be stacked several stories high for use on large-scale construction jobs. To prevent scaffolds from falling or collapsing, employers must make sure that they're built to OSHA standards for strength and structural integrity. A properly supported scaffold will have the following components: an access gate, an access ladder, base plates, a mud sill, guardrails and toe boards, cross braces, and a fully planked platform. Scaffold components made of dissimilar metals must not be used together unless a competent person has determined that galvanic action will not reduce the strength of any component. Components produced by different manufacturers must not be intermixed unless they fit together without being forced and the scaffold's structural integrity is maintained. And you must not use modification to make them fit together unless a competent person determines that the resulting scaffold is structurally sound. Employees must know the maximum intended load and load carrying capacities of the scaffolds they will use. Scaffolds and scaffold components shall not be loaded more than their maximum intended load or rated capacity, whichever is less. Supported scaffolds must be able to support its own weight, plus 4 times the maximum intended load. Never overload the scaffold with people, tools, or materials beyond its design capacity. Suspended scaffolds, also called hanging scaffolds, are work platforms that hang from overhead support structures on roofs or building setbacks. All workers on suspended scaffolds must complete scaffold-specific training. In addition, a designated foreman, licensed sign hanger, or licensed rigger must always be on site to supervise scaffold operations. A scissor lift is a type of mobile elevated work platform that falls under the definition of scaffolding by OSHA. Scissor lifts provide a safe and reliable platform for workers to perform job tasks when used properly. When not used properly, scissor lifts can present a serious hazard to workers. Only trained workers are allowed to use scissor lifts, and employers must make sure that those workers show that they can use a scissor lift properly. Safe scissor lift use includes properly maintaining the equipment, following the manufacturer's instructions, providing workers with training and needed PPE, and implementing safe work practices. Mobile scaffolds are a type of supported scaffold set on wheels or casters. They are designed to be easily moved and are commonly used where workers must frequently change positions, such as painting and plastering. Mobile scaffolds are constructed of tube and coupler components, or fabricated frame components, and they must comply with the requirements for those scaffold types. Pole scaffolds are a type of supported scaffold in which every structural component is made of wood, from uprights to braces to platforms. OSHA has standards for two-pole scaffolds: single pole, which are supported on their interior side by a structure or wall, and double pole, which are supported by double uprights independent of any structure. Because they must be built from scratch and cannot easily be reused, pole scaffolds are considered old-fashioned and are rarely used today. Tube and coupler scaffolds are built from tubing and connected by coupling devices. Due to their strength, they are frequently used where heavy loads need to be carried or where multiple platforms must reach several stories high. Their versatility, which enables them to be assembled in multiple directions in a variety of settings, also makes it difficult to build correctly. Pump jacks are a uniquely designed scaffold consisting of a platform supported by movable brackets on vertical poles. Pump jack brackets are designed to raise and lower much like an automobile jack. They're popular in certain applications because they can be easily adjusted to fit different needs. A ladder jack scaffold is a simple device consisting of a platform resting on brackets attached to a ladder. Ladder jacks are primarily used in light applications because of their portability. All ladders used to support ladder jack scaffolds must comply with Title 29 CFR 1926 Subpart X, Stairways and Ladders. Ladder jacks must be designed and constructed to bear on the side rails and the ladder rungs alone. If ladder jacks bear on the ladder rungs alone, the bearing area must include a length of at least 10 inches on each rung. Ladders used to support ladder jack scaffolds must be supported to prevent slipping. Falls from scaffolds are a leading cause of fatal and serious injuries in the construction industry, resulting from factors like unstable scaffolding, inclement weather, improper use, and lack of safety equipment. Injuries can include traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, broken bones, and organ damage. OSHA requires workers on scaffolds that are more than 10 feet above a lower level to be protected from falling. This protection can be achieved through guardrail systems or personal fall rest systems. The specific requirements vary depending on the type of scaffold and the work being performed. To ensure adequate protection, install guardrails along all open sides and ends. Do this before releasing the scaffold for use by employees, other than the erection and dismantling crews. The guardrail top rail on a scaffold must generally be between 38 and 45 inches above the platform, and must be able to withstand 200 pounds of force downward and outward. When a mid-rail is used, it must be installed approximately halfway between the top rail and the scaffold platform, and withstand 150 pounds of force. Personal fall rest systems, also known as PFAS, are a critical part of scaffolding safety. They consist of a full body harness, a lanyard or lifeline, a deceleration device like a shock absorber, and a secure anchor point. PFAS is used to prevent or arrest a fall, providing a backup when guardrails are not present or as an additional layer of protection. Workers in the following jobs must use a PFAS when on certain scaffolds: window washers, when they're suspended; masons and bricklayers, when they're performing overhand bricklaying; painters and plasterers, when the scaffold is more than 10 feet high and a guardrail is not feasible due to the nature of the work; trades in high-rise construction, for tasks involving exterior facades or complex structures; and lastly, scaffold erectors and dismantlers, during the assembly and disassembly of supported scaffolds. A competent person is a designated, authorized individual with the knowledge and authority to identify and promptly correct hazards on a scaffold. They are responsible for inspecting scaffolds before each use, overseeing the erection and disassembly, and training other users to ensure safety and compliance with regulations. A competent person must provide training and supervise the erection, dismantling, and moving of scaffolds. This training includes detailed procedures for handling hazards, scaffolding components, foundations, and stabilization for various scaffold types. OSHA recognizes 4 primary scaffolding hazards: falls from elevation, scaffold collapse, electrocution, and being struck by falling objects. These hazards arise from factors like inadequate fall protection, improper scaffold assembly, overloading, lack of inspection, and proximity to overhead power lines. Workers have been injured or killed due to being struck by materials or tools that have fallen from scaffold platforms. To protect employees from falling hand tools, debris, and other small objects, they can install any of the following: toe boards, screens, guardrail systems, debris nets, catch platforms, canopy structures, or barricades. In addition, employees must wear hard hats. Toe boards on scaffolds are required by safety regulations, such as those from OSHA, to prevent tools, materials, and equipment from falling off the scaffold and striking people or objects below. An important note to add: workers should always wear a hard hat when working below a scaffold. Toe boards are typically 4 inches high, made of substantial material, and securely fastened with no more than a 1/4 inch gap from the platform. They also help prevent workers from accidentally sliding off a scaffold. A scaffold collapse can be prevented by using stable bases in solid ground, ensuring secure tie-ins and bracing to prevent swaying, keeping scaffolds within safe load limits, performing daily inspections by a qualified person, and training workers on safe assembly and use. Proper planking, guardrails, and debris control are also crucial for preventing accidents and maintaining structural integrity. A stable foundation is required for all working platforms. It must not sink into the ground. Supported scaffold poles, legs, posts, frames, and uprights should be plumb and braced to prevent swaying and displacement, and must bear on base plates and mud sills or other adequate firm foundation. Concrete may be used as a foundation, provided it is in good condition and can support the intended load. The most significant risk is contact with energized power lines, which can happen during scaffold erection, movement, or use, especially when workers are handling conductive tools or materials. OSHA regulates electrical hazards on scaffolding by mandating a minimum 10-foot clearance between scaffolds and power lines. Employers should contact a utility company to have power lines de-energized if clearance is less than 10 feet. Always inspect for any electrical risks before setting up a scaffold. Safe methods for accessing and leaving a scaffold are crucial when using designated ladders, ramps, or stairs. Employers must provide access when the scaffold platforms are more than 2 feet above or below a point of access. Several types of access are permitted: ladders, such as portable, hook-on, attachable, and stairway, stair towers, ramps and walkways, and integral prefabricated frames. Using cross braces as a means of access to scaffolds is prohibited. Workers on scaffolding must receive training from a qualified person covering specific scaffold hazards, safe use, and applicable regulations. Training should include understanding different scaffold types, recognizing defects, fall and electrical hazards, and safe material handling. Different types of scaffolding, like supported or mobile scaffolds, require specific training, and a refresher may be needed after time away from the job. Retraining is required in the following situations: where changes at the worksite present a hazard in which an employee has not been previously trained, where changes in the types of scaffolds, fall protection, falling object protection, or other equipment present a hazard in which the employee has not been previously trained, and lastly, where inadequacies in an affected employee's work involving scaffolds indicate that the employee has not retained the requisite proficiency. In this training, we have gone over the following topics: the introduction to scaffolding, types of scaffolding, fall protection, hazards and precautions, and training.